Detroit Lions, how close is this team to winning a Super Bowl the way that Seattle was able to pull that victory off last night? So I think the number one thing that everyone is obviously going to bring up for the Lions to get back is the offensive line. Are they going to be able to fix the offensive line this offseason? We know it. I know it. You know it. We all know it. That's the biggest what if for this group. So if it's okay with you, Kyle, I'm going to gloss over that for now, because now the conversation becomes what else has to happen for the Lions to get to the Super Bowl. Here's one issue that I had with, or I guess currently have with the Lions roster after watching last night. What did both defenses have last night that the Lions just don't have and have not had for a long time? That is a shutdown corner. And we saw the way that Mike McDonald used Witherspoon. It was really fascinating. And honestly, I mean, we were talking about Super Bowl MVP. Obviously, they're not going to give it to a defensive player on the losing team. Who passed the eye test more than anybody last night on both sides of the ball? Probably Christian Gonzalez. Like, he just made the best plays that made you just kind of go, oh my God. I probably had the biggest reaction for the 3 plays that he made, more so than any other players making plays throughout last night. So between Gonzalez and Witherspoon, it makes you really wonder, like, do you need one of these lights-out corners to get to the Super Bowl and through your conference in full? The Lions don't really have one of those. And not only do we not know if Terrion Arnold is going to be good still heading into year 3, I don't even think we know if he's playable right now. There's just such a big, like, we don't know what we're getting from Terrion Arnold going forward.
Right, but
missed 10 games in his career for the first 2 years. I'm not trying to dismiss, like, oh, he's never going to play for the Lions again. We just don't know really what he is yet, and that's concerning going into year 3.
He is, like, playable in the fact that he will play, though. It's not like they're going to replace him this offseason, right? I mean, he will be starting. He'll be a starting corner, for the Lions this season. But
you feel good about that?
Not necessarily. I mean, I just think the reason why I think it's so frustrating is because Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon, taken in the first round of the draft and immediate hits, right?
Yeah.
The Lions had that with Terrion Arnold, and they had it. I don't want to go back to a pre-Dan Campbell pick, but, like, Jeff Okudah was a top 4 pick in the draft, Like, and those guys didn't hit, but then you see all these other corners that get picked so early in the draft, and they're awesome right away. Like, you can continue this out. Pat Surtain has won a Defensive Player of the Year. Sauce Gardner just went for 2 first-round picks. J.C. Horn was Carolina's best defensive player. They made the playoffs this year. Stingley was a top 5 pick and is awesome. Like, there's so many corners that go in the first round that are great, and the Lions have tried that and haven't succeeded. So I think that's a good point.
It does make me wonder if it's a Terrion Arnold issue or if it's anybody's drafted to this team is just like their backs against the wall in terms of surviving as a corner because of how difficult the defensive scheme is for these. Not even in terms of difficult, but just what they ask the corners to do with how much man coverage they play and how often they're trying to get after the quarterback and really how much you're left on an island. And specifically last year with both the safeties out in the second half, like, it is just such a difficult task that it does make me wonder a little bit, would Terrion Arnold be better elsewhere, or would any of these corners that we just named be as good if they were on the Lions?
I think so. I don't think this is like a Lions personnel issue, like I think, or like a Lions staff issue. These guys are just great players right away.
But I mean, it is. They do ask their corners to do more than basically any other team in the NFL. Like, there's just more weight on their backs.
I don't know. The Seahawks ask their corners to do everything. That's
fair.
We want you to blitz the quarterback. We want you to play zone. We're also going to send a ton of guys all the time, so you're in man coverage a lot, one-on-one. Like, I think that the Seattle corners are asked to do a lot. It's just different than what the Lions do.
So let me bring you to my second point then. Mike McDonald, first play caller on defense to win a Super Bowl in NFL history. That kind of surprised me that no defensive play caller's ever been a head coach and also won a Super Bowl. Mike McDonald does it. I don't know if you have some lights out play caller. I know Josh McDaniels is just kind of in his own tier. But you have a well-established guy for the Patriots. Even last couple of years, Andy Reid for the Chiefs as a play caller. When you have Jared Goff as your quarterback and you have a young personnel on defense, it helped to have just one lights-out play caller, whether that's on offense or defense. And I think it's kind of in question if the Lions have any. That makes me a little hesitant to be like, well, just fix the offensive line and they'll be right back. Like, I'm trying to think beyond just the offensive line right now, and those are probably the first two things that come to mind.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, especially when you just compare the Lions to the teams that are in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, which
it's pretty,
you have to do.
Of course you do, because like this is what the whole conversation is. How close are the Lions to getting there? Well, you put them up against Seattle. They're just clearly not as good as that team. You know,
No.
we can talk about all the blue chip guys that the Lions have on offense. And sure, you could do the flip side for Seattle. Like, they have a ton of blue chip guys on defense, but it's even more than that. Like, it doesn't matter all the guys that the Lions have on offense when their main core of the offensive line is their biggest hole. Mm-hmm. The Seahawks don't have a hole on defense at all. You know, everybody's solid. They have a blue chip guy in every group. And then you add the fact that their offense is pretty good as well. Like, all that plays into it. So, to me, I think that the Lions are a bit – being in the NFC doesn't help them. You know, I think that plays into this because the AFC was clearly much worse this season. And it's easy to look at this Super Bowl and be like, man, anybody could have made the Super Bowl if Seattle and the Patriots were making it. Like,
no one, I think in the NFC it was a little different.
And no one, but just based off of the preseason stuff, you know, like Seattle and New England to make the Super Bowl, what? Like, that was never a thing. But on top of that, I think it's deeper than that. I think it's clear that Seattle's roster, coaching staff, all of it just exceeded every other team in the NFC, and that's why they're there.
Can I give you one more concern? Like, again, offensive line, number one. Of course. And then we're talking play callers. No questions about Dan Campbell other than can he bring in the right play callers? We don't know anything. It's not that we don't know anything about Drew Petzing. We know something about a little
that
bit
he's
of things.
Bald.
Yeah. We just don't know if he's an elite guy or not. And it feels like you need an elite guy on offense or defense to get to a Super Bowl. We don't know if the Lions have either of those with Shep or Drew Petzing. The corners, obviously a concern. Here's the last one. Who the hell is playing safety for the Lions week 1 next year? Like, odds that Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are both out there. Probably like 7-1, right? That's just not going to happen.
Branch is for sure not going to be out there week 1.
Okay, then let's just put the odds on Joseph. Odds of Kirby Joseph playing.
They're close.
Yeah,
there's not even a prop on it because it's like betting on someone you don't know who's going to play.
Dave Burkett of the Free Press spoke with a doctor, had a really nice written piece about it. I think maybe it was a podcast too. And you know, you have to take it a little bit with a grain of salt because it's speculation. We don't exactly know the diagnosis on Kirby Joseph's knee. But boy, if it's what this doctor thought it was, not concerned or highly concerned, I guess is what I should say. And now I'm going to do the thing where I compare myself to a professional athlete. I think Kirby Joseph and I have the same knee. One of my femurs, you're laughing, one of my femurs is like, what? 1/8 of an inch longer than the other one, which makes me walk on like a 45-degree angle with my left leg. And it just destroyed my knee over the course of 15 years. And the physical therapist told me it's just never going to, like, you can maintain the pain. You're always going to live with this. You walked like this for the first 16 years of your life. You're probably just going to keep walking like this. You have something similar too, but they fixed it from an early stage, right?
Well, I'm not fixed. My legs are not the same length.
Yeah, the same thing.
One of my legs is longer than the other one. I wear something in my shoe. I've done it since I'm 8 years old.
Yeah, so they were able to help you out early. They caught you early. They didn't catch me early.
Shout out to chiropractor, man.
Yeah, and if you would have never been, diagnosed with that or were later, you'd have a bad knee like I do, I think. I think this is what's wrong with Kirby Joseph. I really do. And it's just not going to get better.
Yeah, man, he's got to go back to the chiropractor, man. That's all. That's going to be the solve.
Because now, but if he never had the insert in his foot, then it's just like a screwed up knee. And that's why I think there's been no diagnosis on this. It's like, what's wrong with this knee? It's like, one of his legs is longer than the other one, and it's just caused wear and tear on his knee for the past, really his whole life. I really think that's what's wrong with Kirby Joseph's knee, and it just becomes a pain tolerance thing at this point. He played versus Kansas City, and he sucked in that game. He shouldn't have been out there in the first place, and that was the last time we ever saw him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, it can't be discounted how serious that injury looked, too, like when it happened. I know that he came back out in the game and everything, but like when he had the big injury that essentially knocked him out for the season, like that injury looked a lot worse than maybe it got reported as right after. And then
is this not all the same injury, though?
Well, yeah, but it just like that was the turn, like that was the final point of it, like clearly like that he was done after that, like he didn't have any chance to come back and be his normal self. And
didn't he check back into the game though?
He did. That's what I'm saying. But like That's why we were so shocked, because you see that
crazy.
injury happen. You're like, oh, my God, Kirby's probably done. And then he comes back in the game, and he never should have, like you said. So
liability.
Yeah, that's a good point about this Lions offseason is when we talk about all the positions that they have of need, safety feels like one that doesn't get discussed. And we've been talking about this, you and I. Like, is Vontae Maddox just a major priority next season?
Yeah.
Because he's probably going to be a starting safety.
And I've even thrown around the idea of, like, rather than playing 3 linebackers, let's just play 3 safeties and have Brian Branch basically be an extension of the secondary and play like a hybrid linebacker safety role.
We can't afford that.
That's what I was just about to say. Like, I don't know if the Lions are even capable of switching to that very modern look. That's what Seattle does. Because we don't know who's going to be healthy by the time week 1 rolls around, or if Kirby Joseph's ever going to play again after that massive contract that he got. Like, so yeah, those would be what the Lions need to do in terms of getting to where Seattle is, which now all of a sudden, like, you know, I think it's easy to say, oh, fix the offensive line and they'll be right back. Now it feels like there's there's like 4 major things that it's like, are they ever going to get back? Between the offensive line, the safety room, Terrion Arnold, and then just like, in terms of the play callers, I don't know, are they even second-tier guys? We don't really know yet. I think Shepard probably has more upside. And all of Drew Petzing's peers seem to really like him. How does that translate to winning football games is all I really care. I could care what Trey McBride thinks about him. I'm sure Trey McBride really likes Drew
loves
Petzing.
him, man.
So we'll end up seeing what happens. What would you put as the second thing behind the offensive line of those other 3 things?
I mean, like, I don't know. Getting a corner, like, as far as if we're comparing to the Super Bowl stuff, like, getting a lockdown corner like those teams have, of course, would be great. They can't do that, though. Like, it's just going to be
Right.
Reed and Arnold next year, right? Like, that's...
And I see some mock drafts of the Lions taking a corner, but I think that's just a bad use of the resource.
But it's also like they don't have an elite guy at that position. And if you think you can get an elite guy at that position, then it makes sense. And so O-line is still in its own category.
Yes.
It's in its own tier. And then after that, I think you can have a healthy debate about, is it safety? Is it edge? Of course, edge is going to be a spot that everybody wants. And corner's right in that group as well, too. So O-line is still, though, and it's clearly in its own tier.
I think safety for me might even be the second position group that they should be prioritizing. Because, again, we have no idea if Joseph's going to play or not ever, or at least be the same version of himself. And Branch, obviously, is going to miss some time as well with the torn Achilles. It's not that I'm ignoring edge. It's just when Aiden Hutchinson has 100 pressures every year, I think the person across from him is just naturally going to clean some of that up, and the sacks will be there from the other guy regardless. Yes, it'd be nice to have a superstar across from him. Hard to find, like Brad Holmes said. 99-837